Well, good day, everyone, and thanks for joining us for the final Rock Apartment webinar of the year. Okay, and we've got two great guests I'm going to introduce in a moment, and then so we're going to get going here. So we've announced all our sessions for 2013. I'm just going to walk through them with you real quickly. Just come down here. Okay, so you can see that for December 19th, the session today, we're talking about NOI enhancement strategies. You don't want to miss the session we've got on January 30th because we're going to do a wrap-up of 2012, all the major transactions that have occurred, and then we're going to do our forecasts on the newest and hottest markets for 2013 and where we think prices are going. Clearly, it's been an incredible year for for apartments. In February 27th, we're going to spotlight on the mid-market. We're really going to talk about the market that gets ignored, and that's the majority of apartment buildings that are between 8 and 80 suites. Of all the buildings in Ontario, probably 75% of all the units are in that sweet spot of 8 to 80 units. March 27th, we're going to talk about the growing need for student housing across Canada, and that's going to be matched up with a live seminar that we're going to be doing on May 8th at the Pearson Convention Center on student housing. April 24th, we're going to talk about new apartment construction, and we've been talking about this for a long time. New apartment construction absolutely makes sense with low interest rates and low cap rates. And May 9th, we'll also be doing a full-day seminar at the Pearson Convention Center, and those details will be on our webpage shortly. In the month of May, we're going to be doing a session on creative strategies to structure apartment deals, both new construction, rehab, and core holdings. On the 28th, we're going to talk about how you buy apartment buildings in a tight market. Look, we're in a market right now that has strong demand and very low supply. So there's some strategies that you, as a buyer, can use. July 24th is going to be a real working session. It's all about rents. How do you manage your rents? How do you maximize revenue? And how do you collect rents? We're going to have some great guests on there from various companies that help you manage your rental stream and then collect on the rents and then evict people when they don't pay the rents. August 21st, we're going to do a session on how to reposition your apartment building for the 21st century, successful strategies, how to add value in what we think is a very, very cautious market. On the 25th, we're going to talk about how you sell your apartment building in a tight market, and most buildings are selling today are selling for record prices. How do you make sure you do get a record price for your apartment building? October 23rd, we're going to talk about marketing strategies and driving cash flow using social media. We've got a lineup of great guests that come on there to talk about cutting-edge strategies. November 27th, we're going to talk about financing and particularly how you raise equity money to buy apartments. I mean, apartments require a lot of cash up front. If you don't have all that cash, how do you deal with an equity partner to buy it? And finally, the last session of the year will be on due diligence. Okay, so now the purchase offer is signed. What do you do next? Okay, so that's the lineup, and you can go to our webpage and register for those. Again, we want to welcome all the brokers who are on the program today. If you're interested in co-brokering with us, ROC does have a formal co-brokerage program, and please contact Audrey Bustridge for more details. So, as we do with all seminars or all webinars, we're going to quickly walk through the transactions that have occurred this month, and in Ontario, and thanks to the people at RealTrack for providing that information. So it's been a busy month or busy year in Ontario this year for a total of 405 transactions, $2.5 billion. And guys, typically in a year, there's about $3 to $4 billion in apartment transactions across Canada. So in Ontario alone, we've had $2.5 billion this year, which is probably close to a record year for a number of transactions in terms of dollar value. And I think a lot of people are saying, look, if we're going to sell, we could be at the top of the market, this is a time to cash out. The average price per apartment in Ontario is $120,000 year to date. Again, that's higher than it's ever been before. The largest transaction was a transaction in southwestern Ontario at $4.7 million. Again, it was, the month of November, a very, very slow month in terms of transactions. And look at this, one of the higher prices paid was in Hamilton. How often does that happen? We got $136,000 per unit in Hamilton for a townhouse site. So let's quickly walk through the sites here. The majority of sites were in, the majority of sales in southwestern Ontario this month. Typically, it's always Toronto where there's more sales. This was just a generally light month with 8 transactions. So we'll walk through them real quick. So transaction number one was a property in the Rene and Bathurst area, sort of just off the 401 there at Bathurst, and that sold for $135,000 per unit. I mean, Kevin and Stephen, you guys have been watching apartment sales. $135,000 for just an ordinary walk-up building. That's kind of what's happening in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that it could go much higher.
It really, really is. Okay, so next one is 1477 Wilson. This is at Wilson and Jane. Again, this is a little bit more of a challenging area. This building was bought in 2003 for $2.6 million and then sold in November for $3.6 million. So it went up $1 million in about a 9-year period, and this sold for $85,000 per unit. The next deal here was really a surprisingly high price, $136,000 per unit in Hamilton for townhomes, and this was on the West Mountain, which would generally be considered, I think, a pretty good area in Hamilton. Rents of $1,150 a month approximately. Next one was kind of, I think, a really interesting sale. This is in Amherstburg, which is, down in the Windsor area, which generally, has had lower prices. Here's a building selling for $105,000 in that submarket. Again, a very, very strong price. Looks like, a 1980s type building. Looks like it's been well taken care of. And this was 45 units. The next transaction was in Kitchener, and these were 11 townhouses selling for $85,000 each. By the way, if I just go back and mention the Hamilton building, maybe that building was condo titled and it was bought by a condo converter who's going to sell them off one by one, and there you'll sometimes see a higher price. And generally speaking, if a building is a condo title, it's generally more valuable because it can be broken up and sold off one by one. The next deal again was in the Windsor area in Tecumseh, and this was 57 units. There was also a commercial component here of about 7,700 square feet, and that sold for about $57,000 per unit. The last transaction is a smaller deal in Lindsay. This had 15,000 square feet of commercial space, so that averaged out to $115,000 per unit, but that includes the commercial space that's typically not broken out. Interestingly enough, we've just seen that with cap rates compressing as much as they have, for the people that are willing to manage mixed-use properties, you can probably get a much better cap rate when you combine the commercial and the apartments on top and get a better yield if you're willing to go into that asset class. Was a little quirky. It's not apartments, it's not retail. They tend to be smaller. They tend to be smaller buildings. So that's it for the day, really, in terms of the reports that we have to comment on. So today's session, we're talking about NOI enhancement strategies. And Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate it.
And so, yeah, and Kevin, we've got a picture. Where's that picture?
That was at our brand launch. We just did a brand launch back in February at the Real Sports and Entertainment.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I don't know. So I came to that. That was a fabulous event. I thought it was really well executed. It was a little bit posh and a lot of fun. Thanks for doing that. So what were you trying to achieve in that brand launch, Kevin?
We wanted to, we're a 66-year-old business, and we wanted to make sure folks know that we're a very dynamic organization. We're out there in the community, and we also have many different lines of business beyond the very important laundry business that we provide for multi-dwelling units.
Okay. All right. So, Kevin, why don't you launch into your presentation, and we look forward to what you have to say about increasing NOI.
Thank you. When you think about it, outside the tenant's residential unit, parking and laundry are the two most high-touch and important areas from a tenant's point of view. And these amenities can make a big impact in a multifamily building. They also have a major brand impact to the tenant on how they feel about living in the building.
That's a good point.
The costs and revenue opportunities involved actually are significant, and I'm going to share a little bit about that. The key here is if you optimize your parking amenity and your laundry, there's a big impact on NOI, and as we go through this, we're going to talk about how do we drive resident engagement, at the same time manage costs, maximize the revenue potential, and we'll also show an example of a 100-unit property and kind of give a sense of all the revenue and cost areas that we can impact if we address these areas.
Yeah. So Kevin, at Rock here as real estate brokers, we always focus on NOI, right? How much money is getting to the bottom line? And with apartments at a 5 cap rate today, every dollar of NOI is worth $20 in value.
And that's,
right? So it's a huge multiple.
It's a big one. The example we use at the end here, you'll see the same impact. And really, for some very easy implementation of best practices that we'll share, you can absolutely achieve it. And some interesting facts that I wanted to share with the folks today is it may surprise folks that the top of market rates for a load of laundry today in apartment buildings are at $4.50 for a wash and a dry. But over 80% of the buildings out there have lower rates. Really, it's a lost revenue opportunity. And as many as 30% of folks don't use the laundry in the building. So again, an opportunity to track and to manage and actively manage that revenue. Parking revenue, our clients tell us, and we hear all the time, the leakage based on cash payment for permits and other visitor parking really is a bothersome issue because most folks know there's quite a bit of leakage and potential for that to happen. A lot of the folks that should be buying permits are the residents that often are actually abusing the visitor parking, so it's kind of a double whammy. You don't have your visitor parking available, and you're losing revenue on a couple of sides. So we can talk about some ideas there. Some of the studies from out of Calgary and Vancouver that we've looked at show anywhere between 20 and 23% of a household's water usage is actually consumed by washing machines. So if we extrapolate that into the apartment building, it becomes a meaningful figure, especially taken together with the last point on the slide. Utility costs are rising, and natural gas has been at an all-time low, but all indications are it's volatile, and all indications are it's about to spike this year. Water and electricity, we know the story, easily compounding at 9% per year. We recently had that in the GTA, the 9%.
Yeah, great.
So in terms of getting ahead of some of the costs, there's a big opportunity here for water usage, wastewater with up-to-date laundry equipment. As an example, a 100-unit apartment building that switches from the inefficient top-load washers to the newer style front-loaders can expect to reduce water consumption by an average of 240,000 liters of water per year.
One machine?
For the building. And
for the building, right. Right.
We would have 6 or 7 washing machines in a building of that size. Interestingly, it's all being paid for, and much of it is being heated at the expense of the property owner. So getting ahead of that, there's a big opportunity. Also, looking at the opportunity to charge variable pricing in the laundry room to promote cold water use by setting it as default and then charging a small premium for warm or hot or heavy soil cycles will promote the responsible use of utilities in the building.
Wait, you're telling me that so when you do the washing cycle, it's cheaper to do it in cold water and they have to pay a premium to get hot water?
We can absolutely set the device.
Wow, cool.
So you either drive down your cost or increase your revenue, and usually it's a both. So this is definitely a good impact, which we'll share a little bit later on, how that plays out. Reducing leakage, burglary, vandalism, and just getting the cash out of the building for laundry will provide a safer amenity, more secure, but also you're really cutting down the leakage, so to speak, in the system, and also, of course, the repairs that are associated with vandalism as well. If we look on the apartment side, on the parking side of the apartment building complex, the new cloud-based permit management systems allow self-serve, so we again take the cash out of the arrangement. We have an auditable system, and we can use license plate recognition to both vend spaces on a monthly basis and also vend the spaces in the visitor parking. So if we remove the superintendents from the process of collecting cash and deal with permits, there's obvious benefits that can happen there, and you've got a fully auditable system. We also have the opportunity with that technology, where it's cloud-based, to remove the expensive patrolling. So we know when someone's violating, and you only send to that discrete event. You don't have to patrol just in case somebody's on the lot.
So technology is really allowing you to do things you could never do before.
Leveraging the low cost of technology And the cloud-based internet, absolutely. We can derive a lot of costs out of the business. Now on the revenue side, there's a lot of important drivers. The big thing here is making sure that we have a high-quality amenity. So managing the vend rates. We talked about the vend rates earlier. It's always trying to balance the vend rate with the usage so you maximize the overall revenue equation.
Right.
So the key here.
So wait, Kevin, so what you're saying is if you charge too high a price, they might go somewhere else.
Absolutely. So
okay, so it's that getting to that sweet spot.
Absolutely. And we have data, anonymized data that we can provide for over 92,000 laundry machines across the country by neighborhood, by city, by region to really help in the process of setting and managing vend rates. And of course with cards, card laundry system, you can move that up over time. Mm-hmm. So this is key. On the parking side, the visitor parking can generate a lot of revenue and also make sure that the visitor parking is available for visitors because we will guide the tenants to actually acquire the permits. So in the example we're going to show, we'll share with you the impact. It seems like a lot of little items, but when you add it up and you take it against the 5%, for example, cap rate, it can be very impactful. A point to note as well on both of these revenue streams, when they're provided by a third party like, for example, Coinamatic, these revenue sources are not subject to rent control legislation. So that's
interesting.
You really need to move those vends.
So if I wanted, so let's say the market allowed me to, I could double my washer and dryer slide rates and not have to worry about legislation?
That's right. It's really a matter of we would post it and make sure that the building residents knew with some notice. Right. With of course the very real rationalization of utility costs that continue to climb, and it's interesting. A lot of folks don't want to increase by 25 cents the laundry. Mm-hmm. A typical usage, it's only $1.25 a month you're talking about for a suite. If you compare that to the rent that's being paid, it is really an amount. But again, it's a lot of money being left on the table, and really it's about active management.
At today's cap rates, yes. So should we go to the example now?
Yeah, let's go to the example. So we've created this based on a 100-unit building, looking at capping the improvements that we would make. So we've taken a before and after. If you look on the left-hand column, it's not optimized, where you're getting what we often see, where the laundry room, could have some improvements, better equipment, better maintenance, as much as a 4% of 4 suite per suite per month usage. And we would typically look to move it to Ontario's average, which is 5.2, in certainly from our client base perspective. Vend rates often, and we're finding them when we take over these buildings, $3 for the full cycle, and we can move that up to top of market if it's supported by a quality amenity to make sure we don't see the erosion in usage. So we might be able to move.
So when you say quality, you're talking about having a decent laundry room, ventilated, lit, that kind of stuff.
Properly maintained,
yes.
Properly configured, thinking about workflow, and really a pleasant place.
Yes.
We're recommending in some cases, depending on the type of building, look at wireless, look at television to make it a place people want to spend time, because it really is one of the places where they spend most of their time in the building. It's also a great marketing tool to have that building set up.
You bet.
So if you look at it, we could target almost more than doubling our revenue. I put in there what typically at a building like this our percentage would be for providing all this technology and the services. And then you get to a net. So we've taken that revenue, looked at that, and we've made the impact calculation based on a 5% cap. And that's delivering almost $187,000 in improvement on the building from the laundry side.
And how much does it cost the owner to do this?
There's no cost. This is what we do for a living as a business. We come in and we make this. And what it doesn't cost is they're no longer responsible for the capital cost of replacing laundry equipment in the future, and will always have optimized state-of-the-art equipment.
But let me tell you what else it does, Kevin. For the owner, when he goes to sell his building or refinance his building, he now has an auditable revenue stream.
That's it. Exactly.
So this is real revenue. It's not a made-up number, and so I think it has value for that reason also.
There's a tax advantage from a GST, HST kind of a perspective, that when we structure this transaction properly, those costs go away. And some folks can get a refund. It depends on the nature of your portfolio. But if you have rent and the rent is not bringing in HST, then you don't have anything to offset your credits against. So we have ways to structure it to actually eliminate a lot of the tax implications as well. So on the parking side, if you look at an average permit perhaps being sold for $50 a month for your resident, if we can move in that type of a building 60 up to 70 just by plugging the hole of not allowing people to park in visitor parking unless they're paying, and vend the visitor parking, on a net basis, we're able to do a dramatic increase here with all the additional benefits of making it a much better building to live in from the tenant's point of view.
But Kevin, I think parking revenue is just horribly managed in buildings.
Yeah,
I think there's lots of people parking for free. There's lots of people with more cars, and it's just not being managed properly.
Yeah, and we've had some owners and operators, really very candidly sharing that not all the money that is paid finds its way to the building because of this cash process. So
Absolutely.
When you use technology, you go online. You're using a global payment methodology. It's just a much more sound and auditable revenue trail. So in this case, you've got a situation where $400,000 increase in NOI for really doing nothing except making it a better building and creating a substantial stream. Also, you pick up the $20,000 extra of net NOI. So it's
right. So just to make sure I get this right, I'm an apartment owner. I got a 100-unit building. It's run typically, right?
Yes.
Not great, but not horrible, right?
Right down the middle. That's it.
Right. Okay. But you're saying with no money out of my pocket, okay, you can put $21,000 a year in my pocket of real cash, and then the impact on the value at a 5 cap rate, which is 20 times, is about $400,000.
Yeah, and even if the particular DNA of the building we were talking about for one of the folks on the phone or any of our clients, if it was half that,
yes,
$200,000 in value is definitely worth reaching for.
Right, and you've got a better building.
Absolutely.
You're servicing your client better.
We absolutely believe that when you have the proper amenities, it makes a big difference in your turnover, lost rent for vacancies, gives you a marketing tool, all those kind of less renovation costs in the suites. I've put up a copy of our total guarantee, total confidence guarantee, as well as my contact information. There may be questions on the example or anything else, but feel free to contact me if you'd like to understand a little bit more about the type of advice we might recommend for your specific property. We introduced this guarantee in 2012 to allow clients to try us out risk-free. If they're not happy with the results after 6 months, we'll pick up our marbles and go home.
So Kevin, come on to my building, take your laundry machine home.
That's it.
And okay, that's a pretty good guarantee.
Oh, you know what? The response has been tremendous because
yes.
Folks are starting to really understand that allowing one of the things that we're able to do is give back PM time. And most of the folks on the phone, the property managers, they're very busy folks. And if we can remove the parking and the laundry from their plate, we
yes.
should be able to reduce our labor costs by leveraging them over more properties or focus on collecting rent and many other tasks that they have to complete in the run of a day.
Okay, excellent, good. Kevin, that was a great presentation, and everyone on the webinar today will get a copy of all these slides in this recorded presentation with a little newsletter in a few days when we're done. Okay, Kevin, thanks, and Kevin's information will come up at the end of the presentation if you'd like to contact him. Okay, so Steve, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so Steve Herzog is the principal in Greener Solutions, and he's a guru on making your building smarter using technology, energy conservation. So, Steve, that's a pretty interesting-looking picture. Where are you there?
That was last year in Big White, but you can see by a smile on my face, I just had an awesome run down a powder trail in the middle of the trees, and it was a great
and I take it you are a snowboarder?
I am a snowboarder.
You are the maniac on the hill that. You're the maniac on the hill that I'm scared of.
Well, I'm more of in the trees. So if you're in the trees, I'm probably the maniac in the trees.
Okay, good. I understand you recently got married too. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, Steve, why don't you take it from here? We'll just move through the slides, and let's talk about how we make the buildings smarter and greener.
Yeah, okay. So my presentation is basically outlining the need for smarter buildings. That's what this slide just introduces here. All right. So basically, we're going to demonstrate how everything is connected from the perspective of energy and environment and your building. And this will ultimately outline both the need for smarter buildings and how to become smarter. And interestingly enough, Kevin's presentation touched a little bit on heating and water and how they relate, as well as moving to the cloud systems, and that's kind of as well what we're going to be discussing a bit here. So a smarter building basically...
Can you just, look, we're in the apartment industry here, so when you technology guys say things like cloud and so on, do you just want to very briefly describe what the cloud is?
In simple terms, it's using the internet. So instead of storing information on a hard drive somewhere on a laptop or something in a building, it's storing it up on a server that you can access from anywhere via the internet.
So your computer actually just becomes a terminal to some extent because everything is sitting up on the cloud.
That's correct. I mean, even for me now, I don't store any files on my computer. It's all backed up on the internet. So if for someone was to steal my laptop, everything's automatically backed up. And that's
you just basically lost your keyboard.
Yeah, like that's the way the whole industry is going. Is it's kind of backup on demand.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. So, what is a smarter building? Well, in terms from an environmental perspective, which is energy and environment, it really provides you more information, and the building itself will be able to make decisions as well as give you more information to make better decisions. So what does that mean in simple terms? It can help you understand how much water and energy you're using, how you're using that water and energy, how to be more energy and water efficient, as well as provide performance and maintenance alarms. So, for example, if your boiler starts to go down, it'll let you know. And the way that that's accomplished is a system of building automation, controls, sensors, and using the cloud or the internet basically to stay connected. So there's several reasons for why this has become more important. In environmental science, there's a greater understanding that everything is connected, and we'll touch a bit on that in a moment. Climate change has become more of a reality, and with relation to your own building, the extreme fluctuating temperatures that happen even on a day-to-day basis mean that the traditional set points and the technologies in the building that you're using to adjust your boilers may not be able to react quick enough or predict what's about to happen to accommodate for that large fluctuation.
Well, wait, so you're saying that because of what's happening with climate change, that I mean, I noticed it now that you said it, we get hot days and cold days without a transition between them.
Yeah, and even in one day, I mean, in one day right now, you can have a fluctuation of up to 25 degrees Celsius in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And, 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't really the case. So it can be short T-shirt weather in the afternoon, and you'll be down to wearing long johns in the evening. So you can see how the impact that would have on your mechanical equipment that's trying to accommodate for that in short cycles. As soon as the sun goes down, the temperature drops really fast, and all of a sudden your boiler is saying, I need to ramp up really fast to deal with that. And so you can put in technology basically to help it ramp and meet that over time, opposed to it trying to react in short time. There's also new environmental regulations that are coming out. The two I'll touch on mainly here are FERPO has their Certified Rental Building Program, and they're currently in the process of creating a green standards to that. And on top of that, Health Canada is creating new regulations for indoor environmental quality. So that will be, maybe affecting the cubic feet per minute that you need to use for makeup air. Another big thing which Kevin discussed already is large changes in energy commodities and water prices. Natural gas has basically been all over the map with high price volatility. Electricity markets, prices are going up. That's been well stated. And water, you can see it on your bill. Prices are going up. So it's really hard to know what your utility expenses are going to be. The other big thing is a lot of our buildings are aging, and that leads to more equipment failure. And similar to your car, as things get older, more things break down, and they break down at a faster rate. Also, even if you were to do an energy efficient upgrade maybe 3 to 5 years ago, if you don't continue with the maintenance and ongoing commissioning, it's actually been shown that the efficiency will go down, so your projected paybacks will not be as what you had calculated in simple terms. Moving along. So yeah, here's just a summary, basically more insight into environmental science, buildings and equipment require ongoing maintenance, and lots of changes in energy commodities. Basically, all this kind of comes together to supporting the idea that everything is connected. The example I'll use to demonstrate that, which most people can understand, is your boiler. Your boiler uses nat gas, electricity, water. It also directly affects the air quality in the building, whether it's convection system or a rad or a forced air. And on top of that, the maintenance is extremely important in maintaining and tying all these pieces together. So you can imagine that in real time, if you had more information on natural gas prices, electricity, water prices, or how much you're using, as well as alarms that are telling you how the boiler is operating, you could basically fine-tune your building and not only save more money, but maintain that savings over time. And that's kind of the biggest point here, is that it's not just about upfront savings, but maintaining that savings over time.
No, but help me understand that. So are you saying that you might heat water in your tank at a different time if utility costs are different? Or did I miss something here?
No, you can. It's kind of several-fold. Basically, one, you can, and one of the next slides will be on talking about the commodity side of things specifically. But the way you can turn down the temperature of your boiler if you know what's coming up in terms of that night temperature, or you can ramp it up. You can fine-tune, basically fine-tune it. So instead of having your boiler running at a constant temperature, and there's a lot of time that apartment owners say, I have every tenant in my building with their windows open, and they're trying to compensate for a building being overheated, and that's because the boiler itself is not regulating according to outside environmental temperature properly.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so the hardest concept for people to grasp is, how does having a smarter building really affect me or benefit me from a commodity standpoint, from electricity and natural gas? The biggest key concept here with regards to that and energy management is that the energy procurement with the energy coming in and energy efficiency in terms of how it's being used in the building are becoming more directly linked. So what that means in simple terms is that if you know what your boiler is going to use in terms of energy, you can plan ahead better for it. And one of the things that Kevin talked on was, we know electricity prices are going up. The OPA stated 15% compounded per year for 5 years, but really it's probably closer to 5%. And natural gas is, well,
it just is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's all over the map, but you know, in simple economic terms, since the price for nat gas has gone down, a lot of drilling companies have said they're going to close their wells, which means that there'll be less supply, which means demand relative to that supply is going up, pushing the price going up. So right now the price for gas is all over the place, and it'll probably increase over the next couple months. Really what this all means is you have less understanding of your budgets. Do you really know what you're going to spend this year on natural gas relative to last year? Are you prepared to pay almost 2 or 3 times maybe, or twice as much for electricity in the next 5 years? The answer is no. No one's really ready for any of this, and no one has a strategy yet in place on how to compensate for this.
Right. And Steve, when Kevin and I were talking, we talked about every dollar of NOI is worth $20 on building value.
That's huge.
Right? So that is huge. Okay, next slide.
Yeah, so the way that we would compensate with this through Smarter Buildings would be to work with an energy commodities broker. I put Blackstone's logo down in there in the corner because they're really the only company at this point that provides day-to-day market analysis and trading. So not only we get the significant savings and budget security, but they'll help manage the market for you. And so I think next slide has a bit more on this. And you know, just to put things in perspective, here's what it looks like on this pixelated graph here. Shows kind of natural gas prices fluctuating over a month with the highs and lows, and you can see here that with these little blue circles are where you can buy gas. Now on the next slide, it'll show you, it kind of talks about how this relates back to the concept of smarter building. So if you have real-time energy monitoring information, you can relate your current use against historical use, which is related to your budget, and you can have better forecasting. So if you're trending against your budget, high or low, it allows you to make real-time purchasing decisions. So with that information going directly to a commodities broker, they can say, this building's using more gas, and we know prices are low tomorrow, which allows them to perhaps purchase a greater percentage of your gas in advance or buy less. And instead of waiting at the end of the month, which is typically what people are doing, to get the information on how they performed during the past month, you'd have real-time information to make real-time decisions.
Can I almost liken this to day trading?
It is. They are day trading.
Like that's almost what it seems like, right?
Yep, yeah. Exactly right. They're commodities brokers based out of Bay Street that literally do that. They watch the daily NYMEX, and they're buying and selling nat gas and electricity to meet the demand of all their buildings.
Fascinating. Okay, next.
Yeah, and I just wanted to specify that although the concept of smarter buildings is that you can do all these things, have proper maintenance, energy management, procurement, and compliance, they can also be tackled individually. So it's not to suggest that you need to put in such a robust system if the building doesn't call for it. Perhaps what you just want is maybe a little bit more control on the boiler, which will give you more information on your nat gas use, which will automatically go to the broker or trader. So again, you can kind of do everything, or you can do one or nothing. And that's the whole concept here.
All right, Steve, that was a fascinating presentation. Thank you very much. And I think that both Kevin and Steve today, I think it just alerted us to the point of, how important, ancillary income is here and how important energy costs are. And as you buildings start selling for a 5% cap rate, the impact that NOI, the amplification of the NOI to purchase price really becomes quite tremendous. Well, we appreciate all of you joining us, and we really do like to get your feedback. A lot of the topics that we have for next year have actually come from viewers who said we'd like to hear you speak on the following topics. So for January, we want you to go to our webpage and log on for the session then, where we'll do a year-end review and predictions for for 2013. And I'm just going to show you very briefly again Kevin's information. And as I said, this will be emailed to you. And we'll now show you Steve's information again. Please contact these guys for additional information. And thanks very much for joining us. And we will talk to you on January 30th of 2013. All the best for a very Merry Christmas and a safe and a prosperous New Year. Thank you.